Number one, you're asked to set this up so that you have completed the square. So you take this term, half of this term, half of 4 is 2, and you square it. Put it in that blank and add it to both sides. So half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, 4 goes in both of those blanks. Now factor the left side. This factors into x plus 2 squared equals 10. So the answer is B. Number 2, you're asked to find the x-intercepts. X-intercepts are the same as your solutions, your zeros, or your roots. So you can factor that. You can complete the square, or you can use quadratic formula. Okay, I'm going to use quadratic formula. So x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, which will be given to you on your test. So x is the opposite of b. B is negative 5. The opposite is 5 plus or minus the square root b squared. That's negative 5 squared. Make sure you have parentheses around that. Minus 4 times a is 12. Times c is negative 2. And that's all over 2 times a, which is 12. Okay, under the radical, negative 5 squared is 25. Negative 4 times 12 is negative 48. Times negative 2 is 96. What did I say? 48 times 2, yeah. And this is all over 24. 25 plus 96 is 121. And 121 is a perfect square, which is 11. So I have 5 plus or minus 11 over 24. So rewrite this as 5 plus 11 over 24, 5 minus 11 over 24. 5 plus 11 is 16 over 24. That reduces to, 8 will go into that, to 2/3. 5 minus 11 is negative 6 over 24, which gives you negative 1/4. So your solutions are negative 1/4 and positive 2/3, which is C. Number 3, you are asked to factor this. So f of x equals 6x squared minus 13x plus 5. Slide, divide, or multiply, divide, and slide method. You multiply the leading coefficient, 6 times 5, and that gives you 30. I'll put an x here and an x here. These are my temporary factors. And I need a product of 30 and a sum of negative 13. That's negative 3 and negative 10. Okay, that's the multiply. Now the divide part. Divide the leading coefficient of 6 by each of those constant terms. Reduce the fractions. And then you slide that in front of the x. So I have 2x minus 1 times 3x minus 5, and that is B. Number 4, we are solving 10x squared minus x equals 3. The first thing that you need to do is subtract the 3 from each side. And you can look at your solutions. All your solutions are rational numbers, which means this will factor. Again, these are going to be my temporary factors. Multiply 10 times negative 3, and I get negative 30. I need a product of negative 30 and a sum of negative 1. That's negative 6 and positive 5. Now divide by that leading coefficient of 10. Reduce. 2 will go into 6 3 times, 2 will go into 10 5 times, and 5 over 10 reduces to 1/2. Now slide, and I have 5x minus 3 and 2x plus 1, and you're asked to solve this, so I need to take each of these and set it equal to 0. You're going to add the 3 to the other side and divide by 5. Subtract 1 from each side and divide by 2. Okay, so look at your solutions, and 3/5, which is B. I know I'm going through this quickly, but that's because this is a review. This is a review. I'm not teaching it, I'm reviewing it. And you can pause at any time. All right, number 5, it says the rectangular parking lot measures of 150 feet by 230 feet. The owner of the parking lot will expand the lot size by X feet and 2X. Find its dimensions as shown. All right, so you'll see on the side of 150, it's adding X to that side. So that side is 150 times X. And the side that's 230, it's adding 2X to that side. And it wants you to, let's see, if the total area of the parking lot cannot exceed 40,000, that means this has to be less than or equal to 40,000. And that is A. Number 6, again, you're asked for solutions. This is a quadratic equation. I know that because your X term is, all the variables are X and the highest degree is squared. So this is a quadratic. Subtract 18 from each side. Okay, now this one, you could go straight to quadratic formula to solve it, but I notice it has a greatest common factor of 3, which is going to make it easier to factor. 3 divided by 3 is 1, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. Whenever your leading coefficient is 1, then you just need factors of -6. That'll add to give me 5. So that's going to be 6 and -1. So we have x minus 1 and x plus 6. And when you set each of those equal to 0, 3 does not equal 0, throw it out. X minus 1 equals 0 when x is 1. And x plus 6 is 0 when x is -6. So that is B. Number 7. The distance in meters traveled by a skateboard on a ramp is related to the time traveled in t seconds. This is modeled by d of t equals 4.9 t squared minus 2.3 t plus 5. What is the maximum distance the skateboard can travel? And at what time would it achieve that distance? You're looking for a maximum or a minimum with quadratics. That means you're looking for the vertex. The vertex is found by -b over 2a. We'll give you the first coordinate, and then you plug that back in to your equation, whatever you get there, -b over 2a, to find the y coordinate. This, in this particular problem, represents time, and this represents distance. Okay, so for the vertex, to find the first coordinate, -b, b is -0.23, over 2 times a, which is 4.9. Okay, when you put that, that's going to be 2.3 divided by 9.8. When you calculate that, you're going to get 0.23. Now plug that back in to the equation that's given, 4.9 times 0.23 squared minus 2.3 times 0.23 plus 5, and that's going to give you 4.73. So your answer is C. Number 8, you are multiplying 3m squared and 2m cubed. Multiply the 2 times the 3, you get 6. When you multiply with like bases, you add your exponents, giving you 6m to the 5th power, which is C. Number 9, it's asking you to factor it. It says, which of the following is equivalent to this? And looking at your choices, you can see that what they've done is factor it. So I need a product of negative 30 and a sum of 1. So that's going to be a positive 6 and a negative 5. And that is C. Number 10 through 12, you have a graph to refer to. You should have your, of course, you have your review sheet in front of you to look at. It says, for which of the balls, for which interval is the ball's height always decreasing? All right, your graph looks something like this. And the decreasing would be from the vertex down. All right, this x-coordinate, if you look on your graph, is between 2 and 3, so this is at 2.5. So it begins to decrease at 2.5, and it stops when it hits the x-axis at 5.5. So that's between 2.5 and 5.5, which is C. Number 11, it wants to know how long does it take the ball to reach the ground. The ball reaches the ground whenever the distance is 0. That's going to be right here at 5.5 seconds. And that is A. Number 12 also goes with this one. It says calculate the average rate of change over the interval from 3 to 5. So you need to look at your graph and pick up the order pair at 3, the y value that matches 3. So look at your graph. 3 matches 144, and 5 matches 48. Rate of change is your slope. So it's the difference in the y values over the difference in the x values. So y sub 2 is 48 minus 144 over x sub 2 is 5 minus 3. And that's going to give you negative 48, and I think it's feet per second. Yeah, negative 48 feet per second. And that is B. (13), it says which equation relates f of x and g of x. All right, so you're given a graph that has f of x over here and g of x over here. So look at, well, actually the x-axis is somewhere over in here. So find the vertex, and you can see that if you're going from f to g, you go over 5 units. So that's going to the relates f and g. So, well, actually in the questions it says g of x equals what? So you're going this way, not, you're going from here to here. So g of x is going to equal f of, and you're adding 5 because it's the opposite. So you go to the left, it's going to be plus 5. And that is C. (14), you're combining like terms. 5p squared minus 3 plus 2p squared minus 3p cubed. Since I'm adding these, I don't have to rewrite them without the parentheses. So I look for my highest power, 3. There isn't anything to combine it with, so I start with negative 3p cubed. Positive 5 and positive 2 give me 7. You're adding your coefficients, not your exponents. You add exponents when you multiply. We're combining like terms. B. 15, you're asked to find the product. That means you need to multiply these out. You're going to multiply by distributing. or some of you say FOIL method, x times 6x is 6x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Now distribute the negative 3. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18x. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. These two are like terms. So this produces 6x squared minus 16x minus 6, which is A. Okay, 16 is factoring completely. Anytime you see the word completely when it's asking to factor, that's a hint that you probably have a greatest common factor. And you do here, it's 3x. 18x cubed divided by 3x squared is 6x squared, or by 3x is 6x squared. 3x squared divided by 3x is x. Negative 6x divided by 3x is negative 2. And now factor this. Remember, you can always look at your choices and work backwards and multiply out your choices if you have time. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. So I need two numbers that will multiply to give me negative 12 and add to give me positive 1. So that's going to be a 4 and negative 3. So your temporary factors are x plus 4 and x minus 3. Now divide each of these by your leading coefficient of 6. Reduce before you slide. This reduces to 2/3. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. This reduces to 1/2. Now you slide. So I have 3x times 3x plus 2 times 2x minus 1, which is B. $17, again, you're factoring. When you have two terms, that means you have a binomial. Always check to see if they're perfect squares. Both of these are perfect squares. 7 squared is 49, 9 squared is 81, x squared is x. So that will factor into the difference of two squares. The square root of the first term, the square root of the last term, one positive, one negative. And that is A. Okay. We did 18 and 9, or we did 18 yesterday. I'll go through it again. 16 plus 4 is 20. I need a perfect square factor of 20. The largest would be 4. This is a perfect square, so you take the square root of 4, which is 2, and the 5 stays under the radical. That's B. 19, we have 3 square roots of 24 over 4. We did this one yesterday also. Breaking up 24, the largest perfect square factor is 4. 4 times 6. The square root of 4 is 2. That comes out. The 6 stays under. Everything's being multiplied, so I can cancel that 2 into that 4 2 times. And I have 3 square roots of 6 over 2, which is D. Okay, once again, let me remind you, I'm going through this quickly because it is a review, and you can pause it and rewind it at any point. The next one, you're asked to use quadratic formula to solve this. A is 1, B is 7, C is 9. Earlier I used the quadratic formula. I didn't point that out because I'm pretty sure you guys know that. So we have the opposite of B, negative 7, plus or minus the square root of B squared is 49, minus 4 times A times C over 2A. So I have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 minus 36 over 2. And 49 minus 36 is 13. Since that's not a perfect square and does not have a perfect square factor, you can leave it like that. But again, the choices are all like that. And 21, we have the square root of 5 times the square root of 10. If you have the same root, both of these are square roots, then you can multiply the two numbers together. 5 times 10 is 50. Now the largest perfect square factor that will go into 50 is 25. This is the perfect square. The square root of 25 is 5. 2 stays under the radical. Your answer is A. Okay, for the constructed response, it wants us to compare this equation with this graph. Note that they are not the same. One is f of x, one is g of x. It says state which function has the larger maximum. Well, you can look at the graph and find the maximum here is around 7.5. But to find the maximum here, I have to find the vertex. So this will give me the first coordinate of the vertex, negative b over 2a. So that's negative 8 over 2 times a. So that's 8 over negative 4, which is negative 2. But I want to compare the maximum, so I need the y value for that. So I have to find f of negative 2. So go to your f function and substitute negative 2 for the x coordinate. And all I need to know is it more or less than 7.5? So that's going to be negative 2 squared is 4. That's positive 16 plus 20. And that gives us 36 minus 8, 28. So the says which has the larger maximum? F of x has the larger maximum. And how did I determine that? By comparing the vertices. Vertices is just your plural of a vertex. So I compared their vertices. This one asked me to graph this function. It's in vertex form, so that makes it easy. Your vertex is negative 2, 4. Remember, you always take out the opposite of h and k. So negative 2, positive 4. And now I need to find one point on one side of that. I'm going to find the point that matches 0, because 0 is easy to work with. And I have negative 0 plus 2 squared plus 4. So that's going to be 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So that's the point 0, 0. Using symmetry, I'm going to get another point. So from negative 2, this is your axis of symmetry. This point was 2 to the right, so I'm going to go 2 to the left. That's enough for me to graph my parabola, which is a quadratic. And it says to find 4 other points. So I'm just going to pick some numbers. I'm going to put a 1 in for x. And I have negative 1 plus 2 squared plus 4. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. So I found the order of pair 1, negative 5. It asked me to find the vertex. I should have stated that. I did state that up there. The vertex was 2, negative 4, and I found 1 point, 1, negative 5. And the other 2 points I found using symmetry. I found 0, 0, and I found negative 4, 0. And the last problem, we're going to answer all these. You will see one like this on your constructive response portion of your test. The axis of symmetry is the line that goes through the vertex, and it's always x equals whatever that x coordinate is. That's the vertex is 1, negative 2. That's x equals 1. The domain for all quadratics is all real numbers, which is negative infinity to positive infinity always. Your domain would be these values. Remember, as this as this goes up in each direction, it goes out, so it covers all the x coordinates. The range are your y values. Everything is from here up. So that means all of these are greater than or equal to negative 2. You could also state it as negative 2 to infinity. The roots are where it crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis here and here. Remember, roots are the same as zeros. Roots, zeros, solutions, x-intercepts, they all mean the same thing. And that would be the points 0, 0, and 2, 0. It's increasing You follow from left to right. Here it's going down, it's decreasing. Here it begins to increase. Always use your x values for your interval notation. So it's increasing from 1 to infinity. And it's decreasing using the y value, the x values, they're going negative this way, so that's going to be from negative infinity to that value of 1. Lesser values always on the left in interval notation. Increasing and decreasing always has parentheses, never has brackets.